As they now have taken their seats, we're ready for some questions, and the guys and girls with roving mics will pass them on to you. So, questions? Ooh, instantly at the back from Deborah Colvin.
Just talking to Mike Buick, he mentions the problem of the elderly and multi-morbidity. It seems a bit out of place talking to Londoners about that, since money is being moved out of London to go to areas where there are lots of elderly. And of course, in areas of deprivation, young people have multi-morbidity and they have exactly the same problems. And it's the multi-morbidity, not the age, that is the cost. And government doesn't seem to be helping us with that.
Can you hear me? Yes, thanks. Firstly, I've fallen into the same trap that Jeremy Hunt fell into yesterday and was criticised for exactly the same reason, which is we should be talking about vulnerable populations, not just about a cohort of that. I can't alter the allocations and distribution, I'm afraid, I just can't. But the rights and wrongs of that will be debated, I think, long into the night. In terms of recognising other vulnerable groups, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that if Martin McShane was here, he'd be really talking about the mental health issues at the moment, and I can assure you that at the very highest level we are pushing those other vulnerable groups that are not as well represented, particularly those with learning difficulties who have premature death in our society as well. So I can't give you an absolute guarantee that the allocations will change, but we are making appropriate protestations to DH about the fact that we need to be looking at more than one section of society.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi there, Jamie from Pulse. Dr. Buick, you mentioned support in the RCGP in finding in moving towards a more rounded model of GP training. Does that include NHS England support for 4-year training, including support for actually finding funding for that?
I'm very, very pro elongating the amount of time you're spending training for primary care. We have a complex job to do in primary care. It's very difficult to ever conceive that in a 3-year period, in the amount of time you spend with patients at the moment, that you would ever be fully competent at the end of that 3 years to deliver without a different system following that in terms of mentoring. So my strong view is that we should be moving towards 4. However, I also think my strong view, I know my strong view is that we should be doing something different with that enhanced training. It's not just about repeating the same.
Robbie Bunt, Chair of Islington LMC. Both speakers talk about the lack of resource, but what I haven't heard is a mechanism to try and shift the resource from secondary care back towards primary care. I mean, I feel this is such a fundamental problem that unless we have some clear solutions, we really won't be able to progress some of these arguments today. So can the speakers tell me how we will move the resource from these big towers on Euston Road towards my surgery, please?
Can I go first? Only because I was having a discussion with your very chief executive on the Euston Road just yesterday. And the first is, and this is not simply, this is difficult stuff, folk, but I think the first is entering a dialogue with your FTs and actually to continuously challenge when they make erroneous statements, such as the reason why their A&E department is heaving is because GPs are playing golf. Not quite saying that, but you can understand my meaning. My sense is the only way at this moment in time of getting inward investment into primary care is actually through the Foundation Trust and by working with them to start with them releasing resource, either human beings or real money, rebadging some of their community services so that actually the community services support us, because why on earth, I never understand why FTs took over community services. So it's not easy, but certainly with my other hat on, which is a GP in South London, this is the way we're working to try and actually, because they can't sustain, they're unsustainable without starting to shift some of their resources into primary care. Maybe Mike's also.
Well, firstly, there is a thing called the Better Care Fund coming, which part of which will be going into primary care, so that's a start. I think that David Nicholson will announce further changes in terms of the allocation of funding, because he's fundamentally said we've got to shift that balance, and he said it again, I believe, yesterday. But thirdly, I think you've got to come up with innovative ideas with other providers. If you are a large trust and you overperform, you're probably going to lose money by overperformance. It's in your interest to invest some of that money back in primary care to make sure that you're reducing the demand at the front door of your A&E, because you can't live with the demand either. So there has to be a new relationship, I think, with those providers. Fundamentally, however, it still requires political change, and I think that's what we started to hear last year, and that was reinforced yesterday, so I think it will come. Whether it'll come to your surgery or not, I don't know. That's up to your colleagues around you. They say, I have no idea what environment you live in. The big problem, I think, apart from the workforce, is going to be around estate. And you made a well-made point. I suggest that by the end of CQC visits on 8,500, we will have a deluge of people asking for improvement grants or for relocation. And we know they're there now, don't we?
We do. I'm going to allow one more from Claire Stevens in.
Thank you. I'm not sure if it does require political change. I think we have the levers in place now if we look at it differently. What is wrong with the concept that commissioning board, CCGs, when they commission a whole pathway that's going to be provided by a trust, a foundation trust, part of that SLA clearly identifies part of the pathway that needs to be delivered in primary care, and therefore those trusts who have taken the whole contract budget, a part of that budget through into the community that they deliver to. So the way I read the bill, that's possible at the moment. We just need a will and an understanding that we're going to seize innovation and move forward.
Ros Roughton's going to, who's Director of Commission Development, is going to lead a piece of work looking at very similar things to that, to look at how you can co-commission with CCG's primary care. You could do it on a whole pathway tariff, and I think that's one mechanism, but there may be others, and your colleague over there mentioned one.
Thank you.
It needs political will rather than political change.
I mean, I sense your frustration, Claire, as I think you probably sensed ours at the beginning, which is our impotency in challenging the behaviours of the towers on the Euston Road. And if you bring it straight down to basics, why can't I have a decent discharge summary on a Friday afternoon when they dump my patients out into the community with no support? And we've been saying that for the last 25 years. This is the time for us to take that action and change. We need every bit of support we can get from the system. So, yes, Claire.
I just want to pick up very quickly on Michelle's just said, success will mean no discharge summary on a Friday afternoon. Because actually, I challenge for the Integrated Care Collaborative, why do we need letters? Why? You don't write letters to your GPs. You don't write letters to your community nurses. You have other ways of communicating. So I think you're right, Claire. I think you need to start having a dialogue. And NHS England talk about ask forgiveness, not something or other. What is it?
Ask for, oh God, you made me forget it now.
Ask forgiveness or something. Not permission.
Permission, sorry.
And if you have a willing trust, just do it.